Welcome back to Brush Up Your Game. I'm David, and today a comment I got from Christopher in the YouTube section, and I thought it warranted a video. Could you foresee just a whole new relaunch of Star Trek Attack Wing? I'm talking version 3.0. Take the lessons learned from this game and bring them to the next. So my short answer is yes, I can see it. I hope it doesn't happen. My long answer is yeah, I think it's coming. Um, and here's why. Um, I think that Alliance is ultimately the future of Attack Wing as we know it. And I think that Alliance can kind of run with the Star Trek Attack Wing 1, 1.5, whatever model we have as it is. And it's a great system. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But I think Attack Wing as a competitive game with the characters, the named ships that we have, uh, is something needs to change with it. Whether that's stating, okay, here's a cut, and everything before that is out, it's retired. It cannot be used in competitive play. That might help. Um, I think that would hurt a lot of things, though. I think there's a lot of feel bads in doing that because people have invested, people have tracked down pieces, people have paid a lot of money for certain things. And here's what's even worse. Okay, say that cut line is when the new starter set came out, or the card packs before. It's traditionally the cut line, at least as I've imagined it, has been card packs. When we got card packs and then a new starter set and then faction packs and card packs and then just faction packs, that seems like a new business model. It's the new rulebook came out, then we're coming out with new stuff basically designed by a new team who's put a new stamp on the game, taken the game in different directions. Overall, the product is of better quality. There's some power creep to it, but I don't see that as a necessarily bad thing. Ships have been recosted. There's a game that is there, but it is struggling to mesh with what's happened before. I I came from the Star Trek CCG world. I was not a big player, but I was a collector. And the Star Trek CCG had a game out for 4, maybe 5 years, and then they did a new version. They called it the second edition, and then second edition cards, certain second edition cards, were compatible with the first edition, and that's continued to this day with the continuing committee. And I think there's something there that's intriguing, right? It's this card or these cards work well with the gameplay that came before it, but not all things do. And I think that that bit of philosophy is actually very helpful, where you're able to say, okay, hey, there's some cross compatibility, but not all. And nothing from first edition moves forward to second. It's only second coming back to first. So I could see a totally new game that releases product that is compatible with the old. Alliance has done it, but is further restricted in that it is not fully backwards compatible. Only certain things are backwards compatible. Thus, it keeps Attackwing alive in more than we get with Alliance product. Again, I don't know that we need that. I don't know that we need more. But it lets people continue playing the Attackwing we all know and love. But at the same time, it also says, okay, hey, here's this totally new game. Here's a game that follows basically the same tenets, the same ideas, but it's going to use perhaps new formatting or similar formatting. It's going to have cleaner rule setups, but it's not beholden to the type setups, the lack of keywords from before, or the limited amount of keywords that we currently have. It would be much cleaner to have very definitive rulings so that we don't have to depend on the may ruling. I grew up, may is optional. May does not define something else. And I don't want to relitigate grammatical things that have been ruled on many years ago. But I think there are some rulings that are held together on straw or duct tape and a hope and a prayer. And to have a new system that would be built and that would be tighter and cleaner would be helpful, perhaps. Retirement or cycles of product is not necessarily a bad thing. I had an English teacher many years ago, goodness, over 15 years ago, who told me, David, restrictions breed creativity. When I tell you to write about whatever's on your mind, most of you as a class have the most difficult time forming a cohesive essay. But if instead I were to ask you to write a short story about this apple, and I told you it had to be 2 paragraphs long, and the apple had to be the main character of your writing, you could probably do something with it by confining what it was that we were to write about. It still gave us freedom of choice, but there was less going on. There was less that we had to think, oh, I could take it in one of these 50 different directions. Instead, it was, oh, maybe now I have 5 different ideas. And now I get to explore in a little more depth. You see, tournaments where you have freedom of all things tend to only focus on the top 5% of Attackwing cards because that's all that matters. But if instead there were more restrictions, we would see some more creativity. And that those restrictions are somewhat necessary because we want variety. We want health in the game. We want, or at least I want, to see a faction like Kazon actually mean something in comparison to the Vulcans, the Bajorans, the Borg even. Well, I don't think the Borg should be playable. In fact, that would be my number one change in a rebooted game is let the Borg be a mission faction, let them be something that you face on the table, but don't ever let players have control over Borg. I think it's interesting to have assimilated ships, right? The Borg Voyager, those are okay. But even then, I would still shy away from those ideas. I think some Borgified crew or upgrade cards, those are okay. Even bringing in characters that are Borg, again, those are okay. But Borg ships should not be a thing because the Borg are just too messy. It would be like in a Marvel game letting somebody play as Thanos or Galactus. It's just not meant to work that way. Nobody should be Apocalypse. Nobody should have that level of power. And yeah, I know that's not the most interesting take, or maybe it is. I don't know. I don't know that the game warrants 3.0, but if a new version is coming, it needs to be something different. It needs to be a clean start. We want something fresh. I don't want Attack Wing as a retread. I want something that focuses on missions. I would take more Alliance for the rest of my days. Let the cooperative system come out and work for me. I'm happy. I'm okay even if the Alliance system gets a little competitive here and there. Little bit. But I want cooperative nature. Star Trek, for me, at its heart, is about everyone putting aside their differences to accomplish the mission. Every faction has found a way to work together. Well, maybe not the Dominion, but even then the Dominion needed help to survive. At least the founders did. There are places where this can work, right? We can bridge what's happening in the Star Trek universe and bring players together to have fun. I get it. At its heart, it's meant to be competitive. And a tournament scene, an interactive scene thrives on some form of competition. It needs to have competition in order to exist. And without that competition, we don't really have the depth, the revenue. But I believe in my heart of hearts that cooperative gameplay experiences that players can immerse themselves into are something worth investing in and giving players a reason to keep coming back to your table. They create feel-good moments when you can work together to accomplish something. I don't want to go to a tournament, to a game store, to a tournament to get beaten up by players who had a better build than me over and over and over again. If I'm getting better, that's one thing. But if I'm not improving, I don't want that. But I would spend an afternoon at a game store playing missions where I partner up with different people and I run through a campaign to work together. I'd even do team versus team where, it's me and somebody else working against two people, trying to accomplish our goals, them trying to accomplish their goals, but where the game has put out the paths. I think that there is a future there. There's alliance and the way it works, but I think that there's innovation that can happen where this isn't just put ships on a map and fight. It needs to have a mission focus. And without that mission focus, I don't know that this game is worth a 3.0. There needs to be a philosophical shift. That's my long answer. So, Chris, hopefully that answers your question. I know it was probably much longer than you expected, but it's where my thoughts are at. So yeah, thank you all for watching. I really appreciate it. This is what's going to happen on Fridays every once in a while. I'll take time to respond to comments, and the really good thought-provoking questions become videos. So yeah, again, thank you all for your time, and until next time, keep brushing up your game. Take care.